Hello shooters, I'm Dr. Tactical, and today we are on a quest for the best revolver on the planet. No, make that the best revolver in the solar system. So as many of you know, I'm a dentist, and dentists are known for being particular. That's Pepper, she's barking to the truth. So we're very particular people. I definitely prefer that to the anatomical connotations that get sent our way, such as anal. Let's go with particular. Dentists care about detail. We live our lives looking through magnified loupes, so every little thing matters to us. And apparently that's the case with some of the higher end revolvers as well. I'm dealing with people who share my desire for excellence and my lack of patience for mediocrity. So, and unfortunately, that's been a story throughout my life, and it costs me a lot of money because it's really hard when there's something that I really, really want. I want the best of the best, if possible. So today there are 4 revolvers that I want to talk about. One of which doesn't really belong in this group, but it's the one that sort of inspired me to start this journey. So I'll definitely go into that as well. So we're going to talk about 4 different revolvers and why I think they belong in this category. So let's get on with it. I'm Dr. Tactical, and the doctor will see you now. Welcome back to the channel, and those of you who are new to the channel, welcome to the channel. I hope you like what you see, and if you do, please consider hitting that like button because that will let others know that you liked what you saw. That's very helpful. Also, by all means, if you haven't yet already, you have waited till just the right day, hit that subscribe button. If you hit that subscribe button right now, today, your subscription will be free for the duration of your subscription, as long as YouTube doesn't choose to start charging people for subscriptions. So jump on that right now while you can. Now, if you're worried, if you're like, well, wait a second, he may have videoed this one day and I'm watching it another day, is the deal still on? Yes, it is. The deal is still on. So hit that button now, and by hitting the subscribe button, it will qualify you to hit the notification bell. And once you hit the notification bell, well, now you'll be notified when all impressive, highly entertaining, and educational content like this is released each and every time. So hit that subscribe button, take advantage of the sale, and then hit that notification button. All right. Well, as you probably figured out already, I'm coming at you from the great outdoors, not from my gun room. I love my gun room. It's my happy place. But on a day like this, how can I not be outside? Especially when we're talking about such a fun topic. We're talking about the best revolvers in the world. I actually have my hands on some of the best revolvers in the world. I'm very excited about that. This has been a quest I've been on for quite a while. Truth is, I didn't used to be a revolver guy. Although my very first gun that I bought in 1991 was a Smith & Wesson 686. I believe it was a -4. And I did like that revolver a lot. I bought it mostly because it was inexpensive and I got my hands on it, and I was just excited. I had that gun for about a year, and then I bought my first 1911. So in 1992, I bought my first 1911. I was semi-auto from there on. I never really looked back. The revolver saw almost no range time whatsoever until about 6 years ago. About 6 years ago, I had decided to get rid of my revolver. I was like, you know what? I never used a revolver. Why do I even have it? You know, I'm a tactical guy. I'm Dr. Tactical. I wasn't Dr. Tactical yet, but I was tactical. That was my interest. And I was getting ready to take it in, and one of my sons, who has shot with me before, saw it, and he noticed. He's like, I didn't even know we had a revolver. He's like, you know, we've never taken that out. I'm like, yeah, you know, it's a revolver. And he's like, I love it. Can we try it? And he fell in love with it. And of course, at that point, I knew I was never getting rid of that gun. That gun is there to stay. So, you know, we kept it. It still didn't see a lot of range time until Neil at Gun Club of Maryland said, hey, you want to do a video on this Chiappa Rhino 30DS? It's kind of a cool gun. And I looked at it, I'm like, you know what? That gun is a revolver, and it looks tactical. Now, there's no rails on it, but it does have a screw on top. I guess it's tapped for something. I guess so I could put some type of a sight on it. I said, you know what, Neil, yeah, I'd love to do a video on that. And at the end of doing the video, I bought the damn thing because it was just so cool. And I shot it periodically. Now, I did video on it, and I had some major issues with it. We'll talk about that when we get into it. But nonetheless, I have to give it credit for being my first foray, or the bait, I guess, that hooked me into tactical revolvers. So I find these tactical revolvers are what turn me on. And when I say we're looking for the best revolvers in the world, you will notice that they tend to have a tactical, modern twist to them as we look at them. So with no further ado, let's get into it. The first one I want to look at is the Spohr. This is the Spohr Club Edition 4.0. 4.0 means that it's a 4-inch barrel. And I'm going to break this down in just a moment. But first, tell you a little history on this. So I first got my hands on a model of this, on this particular model, not this particular gun, at SHOT Show, the day before SHOT Show, which was Range Day 2025, this year. So January of 2025, I was out in the desert during basically a sandstorm. It was crazy. Cameras were flying, falling down. Everything was just all over the place. And I go to this one area. I see some revolvers. I sort of wandered over, and sure enough, it was Spohr, and Thomas Spohr himself was there. And because of all the wind, there weren't as many people around, and I had the opportunity to really sit down and talk to him. And he let me shoot a couple different models, and I really was impressed with the Club Edition, especially this 4-inch barrel model. And I was so impressed that, the next day, I made it a point to to find him and have him walk through it without sand in our eyes and wind blowing us all over the place. And I did an interview with him, and it was very educational, very helpful, and made up my mind right then and there. I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go home, and I'm going to talk one of my friends into buying this gun so I can do a video on it. And thank you, Ron. Much appreciated. So let's talk about this gun. This gun, well, it exudes quality. Every aspect of this gun is high quality. Now, MSRP on this gun, I believe, is $46.99, and you can just it makes sense when you're holding this gun. You can just feel the high quality that it has. Now, it is a 6-shot capacity revolver, so we got 6 rounds here. And unfortunately, one of the things that it's not, one of the knocks on this gun from my perspective, is it's not cut for moon clips. That matters to me because moon clips really allow you, when it's cut out, you can just sort of throw the whole moon clip with the bullets in, and it's really very fast. It's a faster reload than a speed loader by far, definitely faster than speed strips. Not as fast as a magazine, I'm not making that claim, but it's fast. So unfortunately, it's not cut for moon clips on the 357 and 38 special cylinder that it has. But what it does have, which is kind of cool, is this button over here. So if you open it up, push this button, the crane comes out with the cylinder. So now you can have a pocket full of cylinders and just sort of throw it in like a magazine. No. You could, but that's going to be really expensive because these bad boys are like $1,100 each. But what it does allow you to do is you can get a cylinder that's in 9mm. Now, the 9mm is actually cut for moon clips. It's not cut for moon clips for the reason I wanted it cut for moon clips. It's cut for moon clips because the profile of the brass on a 9mm, being a semi-auto, doesn't tend to stay in. It's not held up at the end of the cylinder like a revolver round, like a 357 or 38 special. But anyway, that's kind of nice that you can push it. It's really nice when it comes to cleaning. I mean, my gosh, to break that down with just a push button really makes life easy, because revolvers are significantly easier to clean than semi-autos. And when you have something like that, it's even easier. It's like a joke. So Thomas Spohr, one of the things that if you watch any of his videos or hear him at all, there's a couple of things that really matter to him. But one of the most important is he clearly hates MIM products. He is not a MIM guy. It's funny, I'm a dentist. He's an engineer. So we're in the same anal category, particular category. And his feeling is that it's sort of a cop-out to use a MIM part. Those weren't his words, but that's what I gathered from what he said. Because MIM, which is metal injected molding, Anyway, it's there are porosities and there's just defects that are built into the inherent making of it. Now the nice thing is it allows you to take small metal parts and make them very consistent and easy, but they are not as strong as, say, forged or milled metal. That said, I don't know of anybody and that's used a modern gun that's broken a MIM part, and it's probably overkill, but really that's what this is all about. The revolvers we're looking at today are all about overkill. So Thomas Spohr hit it out of the park when it comes to overkill here. So trigger pull, it's a very light trigger pull. They say it's at, let's see, the gun's 42 ounces, and they're saying 2.8 pounds on the single action. That is probably very accurate. We'll check it. But that's a very nice trigger. The single action, the double action trigger on this bad boy, very easy to stage if you're, that is a really nice stageable trigger. And as far as being smooth, very smooth. Now this isn't the first time I pulled this trigger. I've been spending a lot of time playing with all the triggers on all these guns. And at the end, I'll give you my opinion on the triggers as well as the grips, because I have some strong feelings about the grips. Now this is a nil grip, which is just spectacular, I'll give it away and tell you that. It does have a solid gold dot on the front for the sight, along with a fully adjustable rear sight, so up and down, windage and elevation. It has top and bottom integrated rails, so you can't remove these rails. They're built in. The front rail, or I should say the top rail, is towards the front. It does not go back over the cylinder. That is probably a good idea, even though as a semi-auto shooter, I'm used to having the optic mounted further back. But it makes a lot of sense just because there's so much happening, so much is coming out. If you ever see still shots at the time of ignition when you pull the trigger, there's just flames everywhere, and it can't be good for an optic. So I think it is beneficial to have the optic out here. That's going to be really weird holstering though, but it's an option for you. And of course you can do a lighter laser on the bottom. Solid gold dot up here. Now I don't know if that's really a solid gold dot, but for the cost I think it should be. He refers to it as gold. I haven't heard him use the term brass, so we'll go with that. And it has a fluted cylinder. And again, I think I mentioned this is the club edition, meaning it has the skeletonized trigger, skeletonized hammer. And the video that Thomas Spohr and I did together, he really breaks down the difference in detail. One more thing, almost forgot, of all the cases that these guns came in, I have all the cases that each one of the 4 that I have here today came in. By far, this is the nicest. Look at this thing. Is that sweet? Oh, you know what? He doesn't have a Dr. Tactical thing in here. Ron, I'll hook you up, don't worry. Patch, we'll get that on there. And maybe a sticker on either side. You think Ron would appreciate that? I think he would. All right. So that's the Spohr. Next up, the Korth. This is the Korth NXS. This has a MSRP of $5823.99. Now, let's look at this bad boy. So again, we've got top rails, bottom rails. Now the rail does come all the way back on this, which is kind of cool. But like I said, I don't know how functional that is long term, but you got the front one. This has a front sight that's blacked out and really fat, and I am not a fan of it. And in the portion where you're going to see the range video where I'm shooting this gun, you'll hear me bitching about the sight, yet shooting way better than I ever shoot. So I'm complaining about it, but the damn thing shoots like a beast. Very accurate. But nonetheless, that's not my preference when it comes to a front sight. The rear sight is fully adjustable as far as windage and elevation, which is very nice. I don't believe there's MIM parts on the Korth, but I don't know for sure. It doesn't look like most MIM parts that I've seen. They seem very polished up and nice. So this has a different type of a release. You actually push forward to release the cylinder. It is a fluted cylinder, and it is an 8-round cylinder. Not only is it 8 rounds, but this is cut for moon clips. So that makes this a very nice tactical revolver. And like the Spohr, it's got a push button over here that, again, you can pop out the cylinder And now you can switch in a 9mm, which also is cut for moon clips, and I believe that's an 8 shot as well. Or you, like with the Spohr, you can get a pocket full of these bad boys and then just use them like magazines, put it in, and go. So now you're right up there like with an 8-round magazine. That would be cool. One problem with that though, turns out that I went on to see how much the magazine, I'm buying my own stuff here. I went on to see how much the additional cylinder is. And I can't find anywhere, and by Nighthawk, if you're watching this, because I know you're the ones who distribute Korth, if you guys can answer this in the comment section, I'd appreciate it. But I can't find a way to buy the cylinder, an additional cylinder, unless you buy it at the time that you buy the gun. And the cost difference is, remember, $58.23 for this gun as it stands here. This is and 99 cents. That's the MSRP at the time whenever I pulled this from. But the price with the cylinder ranged from $62.31 to $67.99. So significant price difference, and you can only get it. I was only able to find it with the purchase of a new gun. So I couldn't like, if you bought this gun and said, hey, I wish I want to get some of those cylinders, good luck. That's going to be apparently a challenge. It's going to be harder to find because I definitely couldn't come across it. But if it is findable, I'm sure somebody will get back to me and it'll be in the comment section. All right, so 4-inch barrel, 8-shot, cut for moon clips, very tactical, very high quality. It didn't list the trigger weight, but we'll find out what that is. Single action, gorgeous. Also, very stageable trigger. And as far as just pulling through, very nice. Again, I will, at the end of the video, I'll do a comparison. I'll talk about the triggers because I've had a chance to really pull all these things. So I have preferences. I have preferences on the triggers. I have preferences on the grips. So this grip is really nice. This is the Jim Wilson grip, it says on it, with Korth, and it is very ergonomic. All right. As for its case, it actually comes in a cardboard box, which is kind of interesting. So here's the top. Here's your inside. So, yeah, you get a nice cardboard box with it. But, you know, what do you expect for, you know, $6 grand? Or more, depending. Okay, next up, let's take a look at the Smith & Wesson 327. This is the TRR8. This is the Performance Center model. I actually haven't seen a TRR8 that wasn't Performance Center. I think they may all be, but I'm not 100% sure on that. This is the only revolver that has top and bottom rails that are removable that, of what I'm showing you today. So that's kind of cool. This actually is, the TRR8 stands for Tactical Revolver, I'm sorry, Tactical Rail Revolver 8-shot. So, and this is, by the way, this is cut for moon clips. So the TRR8 was supposedly designed for the SWAT team. The SWAT team needed, and I did a video on this and sort of explained it, but the way I've seen is, it told is that SWAT team needed a revolver because they have shields and they're going in, the lead guy's got his gun out in front, and if he has a semi-auto, the semi-auto, if it hits the shield, his semi-auto just became a one-trick pony. It just got one shot and that's it. So by having a revolver, he's got 8 shots pretty much guaranteed and can hold it as tight in as he needs to hold it. So that's kind of the intention, the initial intention behind this revolver, which I think is cool. So we got a truly tactical revolver here. So it has a 5-inch barrel, and as I said, it is cut for moon clips. It does not have a removable, I mean, it's removable with a screwdriver, but it's not a removable crane that you can switch out for 9mm, so it doesn't do that. But as far as 38 and 357, perfect. It is the only gun, oh, let me quickly, the trigger, very nice single action. Also, well, no, it stages very nicely. That was just me. And as far as going smoothly through, it's a nice trigger. All these guns are high-end, are good triggers. But again, I'll break it down at the end, and you'll see it shooting as well. So this is really nice, and it's the only gun out of all 4 of these guns that comes with the highly coveted special lock that Smith & Wesson puts on. Bless their hearts, right? Really, really appreciate that damn thing. I feel so much safer with it. All right, so that is the TRR8. Lastly of the 4, I want to talk about the Chiappa. So the Chiappa, I did 2 videos on. First video was when I first got it. As I mentioned, Neil at Gun Tree Club of Maryland lent it to me to do the video, and I did the video, and I was really happy with it, really impressed with it. I hadn't really shot it because it was a new gun at the time, but I could really evaluate it, and I just evaluated it. Then I bought the gun because I was so impressed with it, and then I was not impressed with it. Once I bought the gun, I was very disappointed in the gun, and I made another video about it. Because here's the deal. This gun does not belong in the group. These 3 other guns have top-tier customer service. Now, I know that people have been saying that Smith & Wesson's quality control has dipped significantly. It had a lot of issues. And whether or not that's true, it hasn't been my experience, and I've recently bought 3 Smith & Wessons, 2 of the Lipsy's, the Ultimate Carries, one the titanium and one the regular. And then I also, actually I bought 4 Smith & Wessons. So 2 of those, I bought a 686 plus 2, I forget it's 2-inch or 2.5-inch barrel. And then I also bought a mountain gun, the 44. And, you know, poo-poo-poo and all that. I have had no issues with the quality control with those guns. But I do know that people have had quality controls, but I will say that the people who've been complaining about their quality controls have sent it back to Smith & Wesson, who was extremely responsive. This gun is the 2nd worst gun I've ever dealt with when it comes to quality control. The first is my the Rossi. I did a video on this one. the what's it called? The Taurus Rossi Circuit Judge. That gun blew up, like, well, blow up, but the trigger broke on the very first shot. And we sort of were pushing it back and forth, trying to get through it. It was just horrible. It just fell apart. I sent it back, and they lost it. It was a nightmare. My issue with Chiappa's quality control is within a relatively short time of me owning this gun, it started to rust. Now, I'm talking about on the cylinder, which is strange because it's kept in a climate control safe with a lot of guns that are way older than it, that are blued and have no hint of rust whatsoever on them. And so while that's not as catastrophic as the gun not firing, like with the Circuit Judge, this was a problem that popped up right away. And I don't have a lot of quality control issues. I haven't come across, I've been lucky that way. But I'll tell you, so they were number 2 in worst when it comes to quality control, in my experience. But I'll tell you what they were number 1 in. They were number 1 in worst customer service. And these guns are top-tier guns. You call Nighthawk, you call Spohr, you call Smith & Wesson, I think you're going to really get some responsiveness. You call Chiappa, what a disappointment. I sent them an email, and I said, hey, I'm getting rust. And they sent me back an email basically saying, and it's all in this video, they sent me back a video saying, yeah, it rusted. And yeah, that happens. It doesn't happen, and they know it doesn't happen. But so anyway, we went back and forth, and so I just put a video out and said, hey, this has been my experience. And then suddenly they were a little more responsive to me. But you shouldn't have to put a video out to get a company to be responsive. So while I do enjoy shooting this gun, I'm not getting rid of the gun. It's a very unique gun in the sense that the barrel is actually on the lower, it runs off the lowest cylinder hole, or chamber, I should say. And what that does is it makes, when the gun goes off, it comes back into your hand like this. So the gun's not flipping, which is kind of nice. It's actually really nice. It doesn't mean it doesn't hurt sometimes, but it means that you're still more on target with it. So you've got these nice fiber optic sights. The rear sight is adjustable, both elevation and windage. And now it has a very complex internals. Because the hammer is not what I just pulled back. This is a tool that goes, or something that goes down and actually actuates the hammer. So when that red piece comes up, I know that the hammer's back and I am in single action. It's also a very wide, fat trigger, which is very light. In fact, well, you'll see how light it is when you see my shooting. Double action is very stageable. And by the way, it's a hexagonal cylinder, not fluted. And as far as smooth, the trigger's actually very nice with this. And as I said, the hammer is actually internal, but you can activate it externally. So it is single action, double action. So this is also, this is cut for moon clips, which is nice. It's only a 6-rounder, but still it's a small gun. It's a carry gun. Grip-wise, this is going to do the worst in the grips. You know that, but that's because this is a carry gun. This really shouldn't, it's not fair to put it in competition with that. For what it is, these grips are actually quite nice. I like the grips. So the bottom line is, I like this gun. I like shooting it, and I like the way, I just like it. However, I really am disappointed in the company, and it's really not a top-tier gun because of just simply the customer service aspect of it, how disappointing that was. The thing to keep in mind is if there's rust going on the outside, and what I can see, the area that they're, that they're really sort of promoting this is part of the aesthetic of it. Some say it's so ugly, it's beautiful. I would agree. But if I'm seeing rust externally, what is happening internally? If they did that kind of a treatment job on the outside, when you've got a highly, this is not a gun that somebody like myself could just take apart and tinker with. This is complex, from what I've seen, it's complex. So for that reason, I want to have confidence in it, and I don't. And I don't because if I can see problems externally, I can only imagine what's going on internally. I could be wrong, I don't know, that's just my thought process, but the fact that they were so dismissive concerns me. So that's it for that. So now, let's take a look at the range footage. Okay, we are going to shoot 158 grain, 357 Magnum. This is New Republic ammo. We're going to start with the Korth. Again, this is an 8-rounder, so we're going to start with our first 4 rounds in single action. We're just going to see how the trigger does and how the grip feels on my hand. Here we go. And the black on black sights, which I am not a fan of. Go. Whoop. All right, almost shot that. Back that up. Okay. All right, that was 4. Now we're going to take 3 shots with the Korth over on the left barn door with the solid gold dot, I assume, based on the price of this thing. We're going to take 3 shots on that since this is a 6-shooter. Right. We're going to take 4 shots on the barn door up top with the TRR8 Smith & Wesson. Again, 357 coming out of this bad boy with a rubberized grip finally. Right, and 3 shots out of, in single action, out of the Chiappa 30 DS Rhino. Here we go. Fiber optic sights, loving them. All right, I gotta admit to something here. That first shot went low because I actually didn't mean to pull the trigger at that point. This trigger's surprisingly light in single action. All right, double action time. Starting with the Korth, lower right barn door, double action, 357, black on black sights. Here we go. All right, the Korth does not suck. This is a really nice gun. All right, speaking of really nice guns, next up, the Spohr. Here we go, 3 shots going into that left barn door. Double action, solid gold bead, maybe. Here we go. Okay, that should be it. All right, double action, Smith & Wesson TRR8. The gun created supposedly for the SWAT team. I've heard it could be YouTube lore. I don't know if it's true. Made sense to me. Here we go. I understand the story behind it. All right. The SWAT team should be happy with that. I bet you that gun does really well in a SWAT trained person's hands, as opposed to this dentist. Okay, here we go. We're gonna go with the Chiappa 30DS in the lit sights here. Not lit, but fiber. All right, all over the place on that bad boy. Okay, I know a lot of you are saying to yourselves, hey, what about the Manurin, or I don't know. My French is not good. I apologize. I got déjà vu, je m'appelle Herbie, and ménage à trois. That's the full extent of my French. Anyway, I have heard great things about that revolver. I'm sure, I wonder how good a revolver can be when it's designed to surrender. No, just kidding, guys. I know these are used for special ops type thing and have really proven themselves. And I've heard wonderful things about them. If anybody wants to get one into my hands, I would be happy to try it and to include that into the review. But in the meantime, I haven't actually, not only haven't I held one, I haven't even seen one in person. So I can't really speak to it. But it's not off my, it's under consideration. Okay, let's take a look at the internals now. Look at how incredibly elegant, this is the Spohr you're looking at right now. Look how incredibly elegant the internals are on this. They're beautiful. I should not even be talking about them because they're way more complex than I really can appreciate. I was originally going to try and walk you through the internals of each of these, but first of all, the video's gotten ridiculously long, and second of all, I'm really not qualified to do that. So here's a video by Thomas Spohr himself where he does talk about the internals and how to tweak them and some of the benefits of them. And here now we're looking at the Korth, which is also quite elegant. And you can see what's gone into, into the main spring and the trigger spring. And here's a video sort of breaking that down. And here is the Smith & Wesson TRR8. And you can see this is not quite as elegant as the other two. And you can see that's probably reflected in the price difference as well. But it is highly functional. And here's a video sort of breaking that down. And lastly, here's the Chiappa, which is a whole nother animal internally, which, as I said before, is one that I really would be uncomfortable even opening because I just don't know what I'd be getting into. But here's a video sort of explaining the internals on the Chiappa Rhino. All right, let's talk grips. Spohr, number one. Love the thickness up here in the area where the the web between the thumb and forefinger come together. That is really nice. That is a nice thickness, and it really absorbed the 357 beating that comes back. That is definitely first place. That's the nil grip. Next up was the Korth. The Korth is also very ergonomic, really like it. It gets a little narrower up here in the area that goes in that web area, and I was getting a little bit of a beating. Nothing serious, but nonetheless, it definitely wasn't as absorbent or dispersing as the wideness of the Spohr. Third up is the Smith & Wesson, and honestly, that's because this part's metal. They kept the metal backstrap, so the metal backstrap was sort of hitting right against, but the rest of the grip is rubber. So probably if they had made it a little bit thicker up here, come across, I don't know. It definitely beat me up a little bit more. None of these were intolerable. I could have had full range sessions with all three of these guns. That's not really an issue. Nope, Pepper just saw a bicyclist. She's going to be going nuts in a second. And lastly is the Chiappa, but like I said at the onset, this is a carry gun. None of these are really carry guns, and it's not fair for this even to be in the same category. And for what it is, it's actually very gentle. So it's actually a nice grip. I'm not hating on this grip. I'm liking the grip. I like the rubbery material. I like where it comes up into the beaver tail area. I just like it. But you're definitely going to get beaten up with that because of just how small it is. Let's talk triggers now. So I'm going to rate these in my experience with single action pull first. So single action pull, first place went to the Spohr. The Spohr definitely had the best single action trigger that I felt out of all of these. Second place is going to surprise you. Second place went to Chiappa. Chiappa had an incredibly light single stage pull. In fact, you could see in the video where I was shooting, I actually got caught off guard. I shot before I meant to because going from one gun to the other, I just wasn't used to that light of a pull. Third place was the Korth, and then fourth place was the TRR8. And that's even with the performance center trigger that it has on it. It definitely was not quite as good, as crisp, as light as the other three. So that was, and that's just in my hands. That's my opinion. Feel free to comment on your experience if it differs. Now, double action. Two things I want to talk about with double action trigger. The first one is staging. Which ones were the easiest and most reliable to stage? And then we'll get to which one just straight through is the smoothest and best trigger. So staging, first place, Korth. Korth was really methodical. You could just pull it and systematically it would turn, and then you could pull the trigger. You had a lot of control with that. Second place, Spohr. And by the way, all of these did a pretty decent job. Surprisingly, Chiappa came in third when it came to this part. And fourth place was the TRR8. Straight through pull in double action, first place goes to Smith & Wesson, TRR8. It was the smoothest double action pull all the way through. Second place, believe it or not, Chiappa. And part of it may have to do with how fat that damn trigger was. You just have so much surface area on it that it may just distribute the force in such a way that it just came across very smooth to my hand. Third place was Korth, and fourth place was Spohr. Now, all of these, there was not one of these that I wouldn't consider an excellent double action trigger, whether it's the staging or the straight through. But there's got to be a winner, there's got to be a loser, and putting them all together, this is what felt the best to me. Okay, that's it. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed what you saw. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Take advantage of that sale. I'm Dr. Tactical. Dr. Tactical, out.